Okay. Will the machines rule the world? Are you worried about, round the table, are you worried about the autonomous drones, about artificial intelligence, about anything to do with the machines taking over the world, or is it just some old angst that goes back to the Luddites and not worried about the machines taking our jobs?
I wouldn't say I'm worried that it keeps me up at night, but I do believe that at some point we will develop an artificial intelligence that will be smarter than us, and so unless we prepare them as we're developing them, there ultimately could be problems.
I don't worry about artificial intelligence on its own. I worry about artificial intelligence plus some other somatic capabilities, like artificial intelligence plus replication. That worries me. Drones don't worry me, but drones plus capability to repair and replicate. But we don't have that ability at the moment, but it might be coming.
Okay, well, I'm worried about, not terribly, but I am worried about drones. I'm worried about weaponized autonomous drones that could blow up cars and kill people. Although I accept that actually does happen when you've got guys in Arizona piloting them at the moment. Pilotless, driverless cars. I mean, that could be good, could be bad. I mean, so there's the reality, which is here, or just about here, which is concerning, and I don't know how you build in fail-safes into the machines. And then there's the future, which is also worrying, having seen loads of films.
I'm not worried about it. I'm quite excited about it.
But you're an engineer. Yeah. You're going to engineer it into them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you were saying, actually. The thing that I would engineer out of it is replication. But I'm not worried that machines will make humans obsolete. I'm quite excited about artificial intelligence.
I am worried, actually. I am worried about artificial intelligence because artificial intelligence comes with the exact same baggage as intelligence. If you don't engineer replication, it'll engineer itself. But I'm also worried about artificial dumbness, which is basically what you were mentioning before, drones. Machines with weapons on them which have a single directive and no nuanced thinking go and kill under these specific parameters. Interpretation is very important, so those kind of autonomous dumb machines are a more immediate threat than artificial intelligence, but when artificial intelligence comes around, it could potentially be very dangerous.
So I suppose it depends what you define artificial intelligence as, because if you're thinking about machine learning that's happening in our computers at the moment, that already scares me. The fact that, Twitter or Facebook will say, based on this, we think you'd like this, and Amazon and all these places, that scares me, and that kind of surveillance. So, I think even at the basic level that's happening now, never mind the sort of futuristic stuff or semi-futuristic stuff with drones, I'm slightly concerned about. I really think we should be, thinking about this very, very carefully now.
I think that kind of targeted nonsense that you get on social media is the best evidence yet that we're centuries away from artificial intelligence. Because these systems are just completely clueless, aren't they? They really don't understand anything.
But it's frightening the way that they can do it. I mean, I remember getting a Facebook invitation through work, and then I didn't accept it because I wasn't on Facebook at the time, and then suddenly I was inundated with hundreds of emails from Facebook saying, we think you know these people. Yeah. They were right. How did they do that? I don't know. That scared me.
Yeah. So if we deal first with, before we deal with the kind of artificial intelligence aspect, what about the machines that are coming into our streets and into our houses soon? So lots of companies, Google and Apple, are both making driverless cars. Tesla wanting to do the same thing. Driverless cars and drones, aren't they a problem? I mean, we can be run over, we can be killed.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they can be problems unless we can build in some ethics into the machines, and that's really the big question. Even for something like a driverless car, I mean, one of the things that I've seen in terms of philosophers talking about this, or ethicists talking about it, is they refer to the trolley problem, right? That the trolley problem is you have a train and it's barreling down the tracks, and you have two people tied to the tracks. They're going to be run over. You have a lever. Do you pull the lever? And if you do that, you're going to kill one person. And it's an ethical problem. Are you utilitarian? One, of course, is better than two. Or are you sort of values-based and say, well, the train is on the thing. So a driverless car might have to make those types of decisions. Does it swerve to avoid someone knowing that it might kill some other people? So this is not just a head game. How do we teach a robot or a driverless car to have ethics, or a drone to have that type of ethics?
Also, there's the element of surprise. So I remember when I learned to drive, I come from the Highlands. We don't have roundabouts and things, or we didn't at the time. So we would spend a lot of time. We would spend a lot of time driving around on these single track roads, these little wee roads. And I'm driving along, I haven't done emergency stops yet, and a great big sheep jumps out in front of me. What's the robot, what's the robot car going to do with that sheep? Because I managed it, I didn't kill the sheep, and I didn't damage the car. But it's that element of surprise.
Well, when I was doing my driving test, or one of my driving lessons, there were some pigeons or something, and I slowed down. I did an emergency stop, and my driving instructor said, you would fail if you did that, because you're not supposed to care. If it's not a human being, you just carry on. So maybe you did the wrong thing. So what are we going to do to our cars?
I think you have to pay for the sheep, though.
Right, maybe
I think there are rules. If you kill a sheep, you're nodding.
No, I was thinking about a friend of mine hit a stag or something quite recently.
Oh, that's going to damage his car a lot more than it will damage the stag.
Yes, exactly. He said, no, the damage to the car was terrible, but the stag just looked at him, got up and walked off.
So how can we, David, you're worried about this, and I am. I'm worried about the cars doing the wrong thing, and you say we've got to program this information into them, but how can there be agreement on that? Because is there going to be laws? Should there be laws? I mean, you're an engineer. Do you just want to be able to engineer whatever you can?
No, I think for something like a driverless car, I agree there should be ethics involved in it as well, and laws. The thing with driverless cars for me, to be fully autonomous, we're so far away from that, and we have so many things to overcome. The things that we would take for granted are the difficult things to overcome. The things that you can find some sort of complex mathematical algorithm for, that's fine, you can do things like that, and it's complex and it may take a long time, and we may not be able to do it right now, but we know we can do it in the future.
So like what? What would be complicated and what would be easy?
Anything that has some sort of algorithm to it. So driving along, let's say on a car, would be fine, and even doing an emergency stop because of the sheep or something. I think you could actually program that. I don't think that's a problem really. Making sure that the driverless car understands where an ambulance is and what to do, with the whole Doppler effect of an ambulance, etc. Is slightly more tricky, but then things that we take for granted, like we can go into somebody else's home and make a cup of tea in somebody else's home, and that's a very easy thing for us to do. But actually, for a robot, that could be very, very difficult to do. So I think it's the easy things, or the things that we find easy, are the complicated things for the robots. The things that you can actually program. Okay, it's complex from an algorithm point of view, but
well, that's not actually,
I don't see that's
not actually true, because the driverless cars are much safer than if you or I was driving a car. The reaction times are an order of magnitude or more better. They can do an emergency stop significantly better than you or me.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah,
and they can already do that. They can already tell the difference between where an ambulance is and which direction it's traveling in. They can navigate stop signs. They can navigate roadworks. That's all there already. The Google car can do that. And the Google car, every instance of the Google autonomous car having got into an accident was not the car's fault.
No, it can do it. What it's not good at yet is doing it in a normal environment. So when you have
but it has done it in
30, 40, 50 other cars
oh yes,
around
it has
the
done
as
that.
well,
They have tested
on a
it
regular basis.
Yes.
The amount of accidents that it still has is
lower than a normal car.
But they haven't tried it in the public domain.
Haven't.
They haven't been able to. They've done it in these test tracks.
No. They have driven around the streets of San Francisco driverless car, there's a driver sitting behind the wheel, but he doesn't have to touch the wheel. They've tested it in real world environment. It drives just fine.
And didn't one of them get pulled over for
Nope.
driving too slowly as well? Somebody said
really?
yes, he was driving dead on the speed limit, and some trooper. So yeah, they've tried it out like
yes.
that. Yeah, okay. It's not completely autonomous.
There
There's
are
a man sitting there, a woman sitting there, ready
he's sitting
to,
there with his hands off the wheel.
Yeah.
He's there for
But
legal
they can-
reasons
they
only.
can take control.
We've gone to the stage, the joke about you only need a pilot and a monkey to fly a plane. The monkey is there to make sure the pilot doesn't touch anything. So we have reached that stage.
But we obviously haven't reached it enough that we're seeing them out there.
No,
They're
because
legal.
the-
They're not
Yeah.
they're not
Well,
legal.
they are legal in Nevada. They are. The autonomous cars are legal to drive in Nevada now, or to drive themselves.
Autonomous trucks as well now in Nevada.
Yes. So we're there, and it's not very far away. A lot of the cars have autonomous modes which engage themselves the moment you hit the freeway and disengage the moment you get off the freeway. And they are perfectly legal. You can cruise control. You can just take your hands off and sit back and let the car drive itself. Adaptive cruise control will let you do that with lane changing. It's there. I mean, we're not very far off from the days where perfectly autonomous cars can get out there and drive better than we can drive the car. And it's maybe 2-3 years away at most, legal issues notwithstanding. Coming back to what you were saying about the ethical question, like, is the car going to hit a person in front of it or swerve and hit somebody else? That is where really the problems will lie, because then you get into litigation. Who are you going to blame?
Yeah,
if
whose
a
fault
car
is
runs
it?
somebody over, who goes to jail? But to be honest, the number of traffic deaths will drop dramatically, and you'll be trying to figure out who killed the 3 people that died on the roads every year. That's much better than the hundreds of people that die today. So driverless cars are going to happen, and they will make roads safer. I think that's something that to me is plainly clear.
I think if there was a motorway full of driverless cars, I would agree with you. When it's integrated into humans who will make errors,
The driverless cars can respond faster than an equivalent human driving the car.
can the errors that the humans and the driverless car make,
But the driverless car is not making any errors. That's the
Well, well,
point.
there's some-
it must make errors.
Unless the
make
software
errors.
fails, the
touching
driverless,
naivety and
Yeah.
Software never fails.
It must make errors.
it makes a lot fewer errors than a human driver.
I
That's
mean,
the
I
a lot of-
suppose the other issue will be cost. Because at the moment, if you to buy a driverless car, the cost is extortionate because the technology is still so advanced. This is not something that's mass scaled. So, we're a long way off. Maybe if a couple of the elite people can afford them in Nevada, but we're a long way off.
And I believe there's
everybody
like this
having-
huge bond you have to put down before you can operate one in
Well,
Nevada.
that's
It's like $1
insurance or
million.
something.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
it's pretty.
Wow.
At least.
But these are early days.
Yeah, but, I mean, I would also say that getting back to the original question, I mean, driverless cars, vacuums like Roombas moving around, doing that sort of thing is one thing, but you were talking about weaponized
Yeah, well,
drones and things like that. That's
sure, the military are looking at this right now.
exactly,
as well.
because
That'd
that's
be great.
another. I think that's where you run into more of the issue in terms of making decisions. And
But I mean, in terms of like framing an ethical problem, and we can sort of sit around a table and talk about the ethics of crashing into 2 people or 3 people. How do you actually implement that in terms of software? Do people actually have some notion about how you would actually build ethics into a machine?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know the answer.
Because Asimov's wrote, the 3 laws of robotics, which is this staple of science fiction, it's essentially an ethical a step of ethical questions that a robot
for human to protect above all to protect humans.
It's very good for humans. Yeah. But it was always taken as, well, it's actually nonsense, because you could never actually build a sense of fairness or of correct action into a robot. A robot's just, it can only crunch through algorithms. But is there a way that you could actually implement ethics?
It's a really good question. I don't know. And I don't know anyone who's working on it, but I presume there must be people
because
working on this.
if they want to have these autonomous agents, they're going to have to, stop them turning on them for a start.
Yeah.
But people, if the military's aim is to kill people, and that's the point of having military, and they accept that some people get killed accidentally, which we do at the moment, things go wrong, there's collateral damage, sometimes we kill people on our own side, sometimes we kill civilians. What's the difference between having a bomber doing it from high altitude, or a soldier from doing it on the ground, or from having some drone with 4 little propellers and a gun on it shooting, coming into your house, hovering about and shooting the wrong people?
Well, that depends on who has the operational control. Is the
what
drone?
if it's the animal? What if it's the
that's the
robot
thing.
that has
Is
the
the
control?
drone deciding who to kill, or is the drone being told by an operator who to kill? At the end of the day, whether you like this or not, the question is, who do you blame? If there is a human that you can pin the blame on when something goes wrong, that's fine, because you have somebody to blame. If it's the robot that's making the decision and you don't have anybody to blame, that's when you really get into ethical quagmires.
So what should we do? Should we not institute that, or only do it under such rigorous ethical protocols?
Well, how
solution?
do you codify those ethical protocols if there isn't a way for the robot to be intelligent enough to know who to kill and who not to kill, and not kill indiscriminately? This is exactly a parallel to what I was saying before with autonomous cars. The autonomous cars can drive better than you or me. The autonomous robot can kill better than you or me. Whatever you tell it to do, it'll do better than the human. So
they're not very good at opening doors at the moment. And you just climb the stairs, they tend to fall over.
Things that we take for granted.
Yeah, but I think I would sort of question the idea that the robot kills better when you're talking about making decisions about who to kill in a sort of modern battlefield, where sometimes you don't know who's your enemy and who's not your enemy, or who's supporting the enemy and who's not supporting the enemy. So that's a very subjective thing to say that it can do it.
well, better
more
means
efficiently,
more
I
efficiently. That's
suppose.
what I meant by better.
But not making decisions better.
Decisions is really what is the critical thing here, because if you can say that the robot or the drone will go and kill all the bad guys and only the bad guys and do that in 10.4 seconds, I'm all for it.
Well, you're the salesman. You sound like the sales pitch to the Marines, and they're going to go, yes, we're going to sign up. But then the issue...
It's those awful scenarios that you see where you've got somebody holding somebody hostage, and then how would the robot deal with that? That we would know not to probably hold off, but would they go, well,
Bang.
Well, the robot will take the shot where the bullet goes between your legs and hits the other guy.
You've obviously seen Robocop.
Yeah, the Robocop scenario. Yeah.
Okay.
But it would seem to me that by the time we've developed a drone that has the cognitive capabilities to evaluate that kind of decision, it's probably approaching the point where it's got something like free will. And at that point, do we really want to put it in a killing machine?
Well,
and then I think
we don't want human soldiers to have too much free will, do we?
You've got the issues of all the opposing
right.
kind of, facets of society. Okay, we might be developing it, but so might, Al Qaeda might be developing it, North Korea might be developing it, and then it becomes
Yes,
scary,
everything's
I think.
shiny until the bad guys get
Well,
the equivalent
absolutely, but
technology.
then if they're developing it, should we develop it just so that we're matching it? And then we've got a whole kind of missile thing all over
another
again.
arms race.
Yeah.
So is the issue actually about the intelligence that we could put into or will emerge from our technology? So artificial intelligence or